morning, everyone. Welcome to our Monday morning meditation. So good to see you here and have this time with you today. I was thinking more about our meditation from last week about focusing on being and being a human being versus a human doing, thinking, having, wanting. And I spent a little time with that meditation this week because I wrote a newsletter article for a church that I've been writing for years that I was a part of before I moved to Florida, Unity in Des Plaines, Illinois. And just working on that article and spending more time with that. And it just is staying with me. It's just staying with me this week. And I kind of took a little weekend self-retreat this week. I had some obligations to take care of that I was happy to do, but I also took a lot of time to just be quiet within myself, and not just quiet in my house, but quiet within me. And just found so much value to doing that intensively during that time. And every now and then I just take a weekend. I just feel like, hey, this is the weekend to take time just to kind of shut everything else out and just be quiet. Sometimes I would use meditation music, just soft music. Sometimes I would use a guided meditation. Muji's meditations are some of my favorite ones to tap into when I need somebody to tell me what to do. I need somebody else to guide me because my mind is too busy. And so as I was thinking about our time today, that is just coming forward with me, and I know we've done this before, but I just want to throw it out here again for us about listening. And when we are listening, we are focused on receiving versus doing, thinking, having, wanting. And I was thinking about when I'm a therapist, so throughout the day I'm listening to people a lot, and in order to tune into them, I need to not be busy in my head. I need to, certainly not have judgments, but also not just that, to go even a step farther and just be so tuned into what the other person is saying that I am not busy in myself. And it's wonderful. I love that part about my job. I love a lot of things about my job, but that is something that's so beneficial to me, even as it is to the other person. And I was thinking about how we can take that listening skill and use that within ourselves, and to just listen. And if we are listening to that internal self, and maybe it's really loud and talkative, or maybe it's quiet and we don't know what to do with ourselves. But if we listen, we are tapping into and attuning to something more deep within ourselves that can come forward because we're listening. If someone were sitting in front of me in my therapy practice and I was doing all the talking, then I am not going to learn anything about what's really going on with them. Or if I'm busy in my head judging what they're saying to me, I'm going to totally miss the essence of what they're needing from me and from our time together. And we can take a skill like that, and if you don't feel like you're a good listener, it's a good time to learn, and it's a skill that we can develop. So we take that good listener and we be that for ourselves. And that is in that space of beingness that we worked with last week. But we're listening, we're just listening, and it's receptive. It's a receptive state. It's a non-judgmental state. It's a non-problem solving state. It's when we're listening to a loved one, maybe we're trying to help them solve a problem, and that's understandable, but sometimes we know they just need to vent, and we just listen. We know we don't have to do anything. And again, if we're not good at that, it's a great time to practice because it's good for other people in our lives and it's very good for ourselves and to learn how to do that within ourselves. So when we are working with our meditation this morning, we can be listening to anything and our mind gets restless when we do this. Believe me, your mind will get restless when you do this. It may feel boring. I remember years ago, I was sitting in meditation. I had a commitment. I was twice a week, I was in meditation, quieting my mind for 2 or 3 hours, 2 days a week. Love that time. I don't have time to do that anymore, but I loved that time when I had it. And um, I remember one day going, this is really boring. I've still got another 2 hours to go. Like, this is really boring. And I heard this voice come through that said, so just be bored. And so I made peace with being bored. I'm like, oh, okay. I hadn't thought about that. Usually if I'm bored, the natural impulse is to do something, right? Entertain yourself. Um, but I just made peace with being bored and I was able to sit there and the boredom passed so quickly because it was okay and I didn't need to resist it. So it didn't stick around, So when we're listening, we may have all sorts of experiences and resistance to that listening process. But if we just let that resistance be okay, it will go away and we can continue with our listening process and we're tuning into something beyond our mind that's connected to something more than our intellect, which however good our intellect may be, or our everyday intuition may be, there's always the next level of that. There's always a deeper layer that we can tap into that's connected. We think about radio signals and how our radio signals can go throughout the air all over the place and give us information. And we've got Wi-Fi that can do that exponentially. And so why can't we do that? We are electrical bodies. Our nerve cells are run with electricity and energy. All of our cells are run by energy that is created and maintained within ourselves. So, of course, we can tap into greater information that can be helpful to us. So, just a thought. You may have to sit with that one for a while, but I invite you to do that. So, in our time today, we're just going to listen. And sometimes I like using the noises around me to give me something outside of my head to listen to, because my head can be very chattery also. But if I'm listening to the birds or the cars going by, or I live in a condo complex, so I hear cars, I hear people opening and closing their sliding doors, or slamming doors, or whatever. I just heard a door close. And just letting ourselves listen to those surrounding sounds and just letting them be, just noticing them without thought, without comment, without creating a story about it. Like, oh, that was so and so's door that just closed and they must be going out for their morning walk or, whatever. Like, none of that. Just like, oh, just noticing the sound of the door without having a comment to follow that. And again, tricky and something that our minds are not necessarily very used to unless you've been meditating for a long time. But we can practice just listening and we get better and better and better at it and be able to just be present with whatever it is that we are listening to. So anyway, I will stop talking now and start meditating. I invite you to get comfortable in your chairs, wherever you might be sitting, your chair, your bed, your couch, whatever, the floor. I'm going to adjust myself here. And we want to be comfortable when we meditate so that as our bodies relax, as we take a couple of deep breaths, our bodies kind of just melt into the space where we are and relax in such a way that we can take no thought. We're just able to take no thought of the body and what it's doing. We notice any sensations, but we're not occupied with it. We spend a few minutes helping still our mind body system. Let your breathing move in and out by effort of your diaphragm rather than your chest. It doesn't have to be deep breathing, just breathing at a normal, natural rate. If it helps to pick up the quick breath process of breathing in to the count of 4 and breathing out to the count of 4 to help regulate your breath, help your body relax, then do that for a few minutes. Just breathing in through the belly to the count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathing out to the count of 4, 2, 3, 4. Just help your body and mind adjust to that rhythm. It's a different rhythm than when we're active during the day. I invite you to just let that breath continue and let your attention be on the sounds around you. Just notice what you're hearing, one sound at a time if you can. And notice you can identify each sound without comment, without having a thought that is labeling the sound. You just know. You just know. It's a knowing. There's no need for thought. Notice if you can hear any sensations within you. Perhaps you can hear your own heartbeat. Just be with that like you're listening to a friend. No judgment, no comment, no opinion, no thought. Maybe you can hear ringing or different sounds, high-pitched sounds or rushing sounds, like the blood rushing through our veins. Perhaps your stomach is rumbling. Just notice, just notice. Now just let yourself notice whatever sounds may come within you or around you. So your focus is your presence, just being receptive, open, listening. Sometimes I like to visualize ears on either side of my heart, and I'm listening from those ears. I'm out of my head, I'm centered in my heart. It's my heart that is listening. And just allowing. Just accepting sound or no sound. You may find your mind scrambling for something to think about, something to do. Feel discomfort around the stillness. And notice you can listen to that stirring of the mind without judgment, without comment, without joining it. Just let it scramble. And return to just listening. And notice how pervasive that mind can be, taking your attention for itself. Just notice that. And we can even talk to our own mind and say, shh, we're just listening now. Stop talking. Don't be rude. We're just listening. But without judgment, of course. It takes so much practice to be a good listener within. And it's a great focus to have during your daily meditation, just to practice for 5 minutes, simply listening and quieting that mind that thinks everything is about itself. It's okay that it does that, what the brain does, but we don't have to let it. And the less we let it, the more management we have over it, the more we can tap into higher thinking. We can tap into what somebody else truly needs. We can tap into what we need outside of what the mind is jabbering about all the time, telling us we need this and we need that, or we have to do this or we have to do that. But there's something deeper within us that knows better. And that's what we want to train ourselves to listen to, for ourselves, for our loved ones, for anyone we come into contact with. And that is a wonderful desire to have and a wonderful practice to give time to. And if you have more time today to continue meditating, I invite you to do that. If you need to go about your day like I do, just take a couple of deep breaths. Notice whatever resistance that came up to just listening, like, oh my gosh, that was so boring, or that was so difficult. And it's okay. Don't let that scare you away from continuing to practice. A friend of mine used the phrase recently, the greater the resistance, the greater the reward. Whatever resistance we have to just sitting and being, we can use that resistance to fuel our determination to have more management and more authority over our mind and what goes on in there. So anyway, things to think about and work with this week. Have a wonderful, wonderful week, and happy March coming up on Wednesday. And I look forward to seeing you all next week. Bye-bye. Thank you for being here.